All right, thinking about diving into dog training. Maybe there's a new pup coming soon, or maybe your current one could use a little help.
Always room for improvement, right?
Exactly. So we're going to take a deep dive into this article. Can you really train any dog? Debunking common dog training myths and see if it lives up to the title.
It's a pretty bold claim. Kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah, like everyone's heard that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Right.
So it makes you wonder if it's even worth trying past a certain age.
Like, is it too late for your senior dog? Are they set in their ways?
Yeah?
Well, the article jumps right into that mess and sets the record straight. Dogs, just like us, can learn throughout their lives. In fact, they might even have an advantage as they get older.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, think about it. They have more settled routines, maybe a longer attention span.
So that stuck in their ways thing might actually be a good thing.
Exactly. And the article even gives this example of a 12-year-old Labrador named Max who learned agility. At 12. It just goes to show you, it's not about age. It's about finding the right approach.
Okay, so that myth is busted. But what about those breeds with reputations? Like, you always hear Huskies are stubborn or Terriers are too hyper to train.
Yeah.
Are those just stereotypes, or is there something to it?
I mean, there's definitely some truth to those stereotypes, but it's not that they can't learn. It's more about understanding what motivates them.
Okay.
Like a husky might be super independent and less food motivated, while a terrier might thrive on high-energy games.
Ah, so instead of saying untrainable, we're really talking about needing to tailor the training to each dog.
Exactly. And that leads right into how dogs actually learn, which the article breaks down into 4 key mechanisms. They are, of course, different from how humans learn.
Right.
But understanding these mechanisms can be a game changer for any dog owner.
All right, let's break it down. What's the first one we need to know about?
The first is environmental feedback. It's all about how dogs learn through interacting with their surroundings. Think about it. In the wild, a dog learns that digging under a certain bush might lead to a tasty grub.
So it's about cause and effect. They take an action as something happens, and they learn from that.
Exactly. Now, translate that to your living room. Let's say your dog loves chewing shoes.
Oh, I know that one.
Instead of just punishing them after the fact, you can create an environment where chewing shoes is less appealing.
So like putting those bitter apple sprays on the shoes.
Exactly. They learn, hey, chewing this shoe leads to a yucky taste.
Yeah.
And they're less likely to repeat the behavior. They've gotten feedback from their environment, and they've adjusted their actions accordingly.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like we're setting them up for success by tweaking their environment. What's next?
Next up is association. This one's pretty straightforward. Dogs learn by connecting actions with consequences. Do a good thing, get a reward. Do a not-so-good thing, maybe something unpleasant happens, or the reward is withheld.
So it's all about consistency. If we're consistent with rewards and consequences, they start to connect the dots.
Exactly. And this ties directly back to those breed stereotypes we were talking about earlier. A husky who isn't super food motivated might not associate a treat with the desired behavior as strongly as, say, a lab.
So we need to figure out what really motivates each dog.
Uh-huh.
Is it food? Is it praise? Is it a favorite toy?
You got it. It's about finding that individual currency that makes the association strong and clear for them. And this leads us to the third mechanism, repetition.
Okay, repetition. I'm guessing this is where the practice makes perfect idea comes in.
Absolutely. Think about it. We don't learn complex skills overnight, and neither do dogs. They need repeated exposure and practice to solidify those neural pathways in their brains.
So it's not just about one amazing training session. It's about consistent practice over time.
Exactly. And that's where so many people go wrong with dog training. They get discouraged if their dog doesn't pick something up right away. But just like us, dogs need time and repetition to master new skills.
This is all starting to feel a lot less about tricks and more about how dogs actually learn and process information. It's like we're getting a glimpse into their brains.
I think that's a great way to put it. And the final mechanism ties into this idea of understanding their brains.
Yeah.
It's positive reinforcement.
Okay, positive reinforcement. That sounds pretty self-explanatory, but I'm guessing there's more to it than just giving treats when they do something good.
You're right. It's not just about treats. It's about rewarding desired behaviors in a way that makes them more likely to happen again. And this can be anything from a tasty treat to a belly rub to a simple good dog delivered with genuine enthusiasm.
So it's about finding what makes each dog feel good and using that as a reward for good behavior.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really interesting. These 4 mechanisms, environmental feedback, association, repetition, and positive reinforcement, they apply to all dogs, regardless of breed, age, or personality.
So we're really talking about universal principles of learning here. This isn't just some quick fix. This is about understanding how dogs think and how we can tap into that.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole idea of brain training comes in. It's about moving beyond just teaching commands and really engaging their minds.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this brain training. What makes it so different from traditional methods?
Well, instead of just focusing on obedience, brain training is all about challenging your dog to think for themselves, to solve problems, to use their natural intelligence in new and exciting ways.
So it's less about sit and stay and more about making them think, like giving their brains a good workout.
That's a great way to put it. And the article dives into some fascinating examples of how this approach is transforming the way people train their dogs.
All right, I'm ready to hear about these success stories. Give me the highlights.
Okay, those success stories were pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
But I want to back up a bit. We've been talking about this brain training,
Right.
but what's that actually look like in practice? Well, it can take a lot of forms, but the core idea is to tap into a dog's natural instincts and problem-solving abilities.
Okay.
For example, instead of just giving your dog food from a bowl, you can use a puzzle feeder.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those. They look like they're fun. I just wasn't sure if they were really valuable or just kind of gimmicky.
No, they're definitely not gimmicks. They're super enriching for dogs, so instead of just like gulping their food down, they have to work for it, they figure out how to get the food out of the puzzle.
So it's like a mental workout disguised as mealtime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can use the same principle with playtime. So like instead of just throwing a ball, try hiding it and letting them sniff it out.
Oh, my dog would love that. He's so good at finding lost toys, like even under piles of laundry.
That's great. You're already doing it without realizing it. And the article talks about how this kind of play really engages their brains way more than just like fetching.
So it's not just about physical exercise, it's about mental exercise too.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting. The article talks about how brain training can actually help dogs develop skills for everyday life.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What do you mean? Like, how does that work?
So imagine you're walking your dog and there's a squirrel.
Oh, the classic squirrel.
Yeah, so instead of just like lunging and barking like crazy, they pause and look at you for guidance, and they stay calm.
Wow, that would be amazing. No more embarrassing leash yanking incidents at the park.
Exactly. And it's not just about managing excitement. Brain training can also help with things like anxiety and fear.
Really? So a dog who's afraid of thunderstorms, for example, could learn to cope through brain training.
Absolutely. By engaging their minds and teaching them to focus on something positive, you can actually redirect their attention away from the things that are making them anxious.
So instead of freaking out, they're thinking, oh, thunderstorm means yummy treats.
Exactly. And it shows how brain training can help with not just behavior, but also emotional well-being.
This is making me realize how much we think about training as like, tricks. But this is more about how their minds work.
Yeah, for sure. And the article also talks about how that connection you build with your dog through brain training. That's one of the most rewarding parts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you're not just giving commands, you're working together, you're problem solving, you're building that trust.
I love that. It's like you're on the same team working towards a goal. But is there a risk of overdoing it? I mean, could a dog get too reliant on mental stimulation?
It's a good question. It's definitely important to find a good balance.
Okay.
Dogs need downtime, just like we do.
Right.
But the good thing is that you can fit brain training into your normal life with your dog.
So you're not talking about hours of structured training.
Not at all. Even just short bursts of mental stimulation can make a difference. I mean, even a simple game of hide and seek can be like 10 minutes of mental enrichment.
And you can do that while you're making dinner or cleaning up.
Exactly. Just find those little pockets of time in your day to engage your dog's mind. And the article really emphasizes consistency here.
So even just 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a real difference.
Like anything. Small, consistent effort gets the best result. Don't underestimate the power of routine activities.
Okay, what kind of things are you thinking about?
Well, take feeding time, for example. Like instead of just pouring the food in a bowl, you can scatter it in the grass and let your dog sniff it out.
Oh, that's a fun idea, turning mealtime into a sniffing adventure.
Exactly. And even walks can be brain training. Instead of the same route, try new parks, let them experience new sights and smells.
Keep it interesting.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical exploration, it's about mental exploration too. Encourage them to sniff, investigate, use their senses.
So it's less like training and more like enriching their lives.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Huh.
just about controlling their behavior. It's about helping them thrive.
And I'm guessing all this applies to all dogs, puppies to seniors.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It's never too early or too late to start enriching their lives.
This has been so insightful. I'm ready to try some of this stuff with my dog. But I am curious about those more advanced tricks you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Like teaching them names of toys and following hand signals. Is that something any dog can learn?
It's a great question, and one we'll definitely dive into after a quick break.
Okay, so we've talked about why brain training is so awesome,
Right.
but I want to know, what can I actually do with my dog today?
Yeah, for sure. So we've mentioned puzzle feeders, scent games, more engaging walks.
Right.
But let's get into some things that maybe seem more like tricks, but are really about their brain power.
Okay, like teaching a dog the names of their toys. Is that a real thing?
Oh, yeah, it's totally possible. It might seem like something only super smart dogs can do.
Right.
But the article says most dogs can learn the names of things. It's about taking it step by step and using those learning mechanisms we talked about.
Okay, so how do you actually teach them the name of a toy?
All right, so you start with one toy and make it their favorite. Hold it up and say its name clearly. Let's say it's a ball.
Okay.
And give the dog the ball and praise him. Like really go over the top.
So they get excited.
Yeah, you're connecting the word to the toy.
So repetition again.
Exactly. Do this several times a day. Keep it short and fun. And once it seems like they're getting it,
How do you know?
maybe their ears pick up when you say ball.
Okay.
Then you can test them.
How do you test them without just giving them the ball?
So put the ball down and another toy, not too close together. Ask your dog, where's the ball?
Okay.
And even if they hesitate but go to the ball, huge win. Praise them like crazy.
They'll be so proud of themselves.
Exactly. And if they go to the wrong one, no worries. Just guide them to the ball and say it again. Let them play. It's all about that positive reinforcement.
It makes you realize we probably underestimate how much they understand. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. And once they know a few names, you can get creative, right? You can put toys in different rooms and ask them to go get one.
Wow.
Or hold up two toys and ask them to choose, do you want the ball or the rope?
So you're teaching them names, but also to make choices, think for themselves.
Exactly. It challenges them in new ways. And here's another thing the article talks about. Hand signals.
Oh, wow. That seems hard. Can any dog learn that?
You'd be surprised.
Uh-huh.
Dogs are really tuned into our body language.
Right.
They already pick up on cues. So teaching hand signals is kind of like making that communication more official.
Okay, so how do you start? Do you just, like, swap a word for a gesture?
You can definitely do that. Let's say you're teaching sit. Pair the word sit with a hand signal, maybe like palm up, moving upward.
Okay, easy enough.
Do that over and over. They'll start to connect the gesture with the action.
And eventually, you don't even need the word.
Exactly. It might take a little time, but dogs are super adaptable. They'll learn the hand signal means sit.
I'm picturing myself silent dog training with all these secret hand signals. It sounds kind of fun.
Yeah. And it can be really useful, like if it's noisy or you need to be quiet.
It's like a whole new way to talk to your dog. And it all goes back to this brain training idea.
It does. And the article makes a good point. This isn't just tricks. It's about your dog feeling confident, resilient, more bonded to you.
So win-win, right? They get smarter, we get closer.
You got it. It's about them loving to learn and us helping them be their best.
Well, this has been a really fun deep dive. I'm definitely going to try some of this with my own dog.
I'm so glad.
Eh.
And remember, it's never too late to start. Puppy or senior dog, there's always new things to learn together.
Awesome. So that wraps up our deep dive on brain training. Turns out any dog can learn. It's about finding what works for them and using their amazing brains.
For sure. So go out there, unlock that brain power, and have fun with your furry friends.
Until next time, happy training, everyone.